Hi everyone, my name is Yessmeem / DJ Mean on KVRX. I have only had one show. It's called Sweaty Cowboy, and hopefully I'll have a show next semester. I am originally from the Dallas area. Before I came to UT, I lived in Plano, Texas. I came to UT because, honestly, when I was going to graduate high school, I kind of didn't know what I wanted to do. I was a theater kid, unfortunately. I will say probably less evil of a theater kid because I only joined in 10th grade versus, people who do it for their whole life. Sorry, theater kids, but, you gotta be real. And I just felt like, even though I didn't fully know what I wanted to do, that UT was a good place to do something. And I think I was right, especially because now I feel like I want to do everything. So I'm now a theater and RTF double major. Love it a lot. What music am I listening to, and has that changed since I joined KVRX? Absolutely. I always forget what I'm listening to at the moment, so I have to look at my Spotify on repeat playlist. I really like this rapper named Khalil Blue, especially his album Dog, album or EP, I don't remember right now, but really good. I also really like this artist named Heather. Laundry Day, been listening a lot to Twin Peaks, specifically their song Spiders / Kid Smoke. Also been listening to a lot of Orion Sun, 8-Bit Wizard, Omar Apollo, Binky. I think that's a good list. What music I've been listening to has absolutely changed since I joined KVRX. I definitely think that I seek out a lot of smaller bands now, and I've always said that I like listening to a lot of genres, but I think I still typically listen to a lot of indie music. So it's been nice to expand the genres of music that I listen to and find more small bands that I can support. Anything exciting happening in your world? I dyed my hair silver, which is really fun. I made a video. I work at this place called the Arab Film and Media Institute, and I just made a promotional video for the organization, and I was pretty proud of it. And then my boss really liked it, which is always fun. I don't know. Those are the only exciting things I can think of right now. It's nice to be in winter break. That's always exciting when the semester is over. Next semester is my last semester. I would say that's pretty exciting too. What's a question that's been occupying my mind for a while? I have a couple. I've been thinking a lot about kangaroos. First, I was thinking about how kangaroo babies even get into kangaroo pouches. And then once I figured that out, I was just thinking a lot about how we portray kangaroos in the media. I feel like when I was little, I always thought that they were really cute, and baby kangaroos definitely are cute, but kangaroos are also really muscular and really scary. So I've been thinking about where I got this idea from, that they're really cute and really soft and not harmless. I've also been thinking about the science behind your hair and how conditioner works, because every time I put conditioner in my hair gets soft, and I still don't understand how it works. And I could just Google it, but I like to just think about it. I have other questions, but I think we can say that is good for now. Since I'm no longer in the booth, where do I get the same feelings of freedom and catharsis? Unfortunately, because this was my first semester, this past fall semester was my first semester as a KVRX DJ, I've never actually gotten to be in the booth, and I don't think I will, but I think I still get a lot of feelings of freedom and catharsis from making my show at home, because it's one of the few times that I think I'm actually just like sitting and focusing on one thing, which is making my show, and I have a lot of fun. I also have been learning to skateboard, and that's been really fun. I really like to just like skate in West Campus, specifically on Rio Grande, which is like the big pedestrian street, and listen to music and cruise. I also just really like to be outside, so been trying to do that more often. I think in general, like, music is involved in all of those activities somehow. I think music always gives me feelings of freedom and catharsis. Favorite memories and or stories from KVRX. I feel like I also cannot answer this question super well because this was my first semester, but there is a show, or was a show, on KVRX last semester called Mother Momentum, which was hosted by DJ Wowister and DJ Lena Waith, and they did a like skit episode for Halloween where DJ Lena Waith gets possessed by a demon, and it was really good, and they asked other DJs to like have parts in it, and I got to be a part of it, and it was really fun to watch and also to see people's reactions as it was playing live. I also can't answer the question about best social that you went to because I've never been to one, but I'm sure they were great. Also, what are some historic moments? Unfortunately, I cannot answer that one either, but I still really love KVRX, and I've loved my little at-home booth experience. I think my favorite thing about KVRX, if that helps, is just like meeting the people that I have met and getting to connect with some of my favorite artists in a new way. Sometimes I post my show on Instagram and like tag artists that I'm playing that day, and we'll have a really brief connection. Like, they just like the message and say something like, "Oh my gosh, thank you." But it makes my day to know that they know that I played their song on my show, and I hope that they felt like appreciated and knew that they were doing great things. That is getting off topic. I can answer the next question, which is advice for new DJs. I would say if you're not a KVRX DJ yet and you really want to do it, that you should just do it. I wanted to do it all 3 years of college before I started to. I was just like a little intimidated, and once I started, I have been having so much fun, and nothing is intimidating about it at all. Like, all of the KVRX staff is so sweet, and the DJs are awesome, and it's, relatively easy to learn how to make a show. So if you want to do it, you absolutely should. I am cheering for you. And then if you are a new DJ, I would say never be afraid to ask for help in whatever capacity that is. Like, if you want to do something different with your show or like are unsure about how to do things, I think there are always people who are willing to help. Try and make connections with the people who are DJs. Everyone is really awesome. Just like overall, I would say take advantage of as much as you can at KVRX. Like, maybe intern if you have the time, or at least just like listen to people's shows and talk to people. Yeah, just have fun. I think that's all I got. The last question is, where can people keep up with you? I would say probably the thing that makes the most sense is social media. So you can follow me on Instagram or Twitter at Arab Cowboy 400. Gotta keep the cowboy brand going. Yeah, I think that's all I have. I mean, like, you could email me or something, but I feel like that's not really that exciting. Yeah, okay. I never know how to end recordings. So, thank you, Reno, for having me on the show. And thank y'all for listening. I hope you have a wonderful day, evening, night, whenever this plays. It's just a good time. Bye.
Hi, I'm Vic, or DJ No Improv, and my shows are The Others and Side Piece. I'm from San Antonio, and I came to UT to get more involved in the Austin music scene and to meet other artists in the area. Lately, I've been listening to a lot of Kimya Dawson and Someone Still Loves You, Boris Yeltsin. Since I started with KVRX, actually, I've been making playlists almost religiously. It's kind of ridiculous how many playlists I've made this year. But, I have no intention of stopping. Before COVID, I played in a band and booked shows at a few indie venues here in San Anto, and while now I spend most of the time otherwise used on that, writing and experimenting with production stuff, and I'll record the occasional track for compilation albums on my friends' labels. I actually helped curate a comp this month with Other U Media to raise money for Para Mi Gente Mutual Aid, which was a lot of fun. It's called Essay Covers for a Cause, Holiday Edition, and I'm very proud of it. I've started so many projects since I've been home that I'm really starting to wonder if I'll ever finish a single one. I was hoping to record an album in my bedroom, but I burned out a few months into quarantine. I only just recently started writing again. I was only involved at KVRX for about a semester before the pandemic, so I don't have a whole lot of memories or stories to share about it, but I loved the deep listening sessions, and having my first show in the middle of the night on a Wednesday was great, because the building was empty and the streets were quiet. It was so peaceful, except for me, who was just jamming in the booth. I was kind of going crazy, but it was a lot of fun. There was one night that I just hung out after my show was over, and since it was 3 a.m, I just got to chill, even though I was literally I just lived across the street, but I ended up napping and doing yoga while listening to the automation, and I don't know, it was a lot of fun. Weird little nerdy me just going ham. A few tips for DJs, for new DJs. Take every opportunity to get involved. I can't stress this enough. Just go to every social, go to all these, just talk to everyone. There are so many really cool, sweet, interesting people in KVRX, and even the few that I got to meet are some of my favorites. And there's a lot to learn from them too. Maybe you'll pick up a new skill, or maybe a potential career option, who knows? Listen to as much of the new bin as possible, and be open to any musical genre. I promise you're not doing yourself any favors by putting these restrictions on yourself, and I guarantee you will find at least one new favorite artist through the station. And that's it for me. I'm on Instagram at Vic Garces, and thanks, Reno, for having me on.
My name is Ander Chavarria, or DJ Andy R, and I actually did 0 shows for KVRX. I did the training and got on the roster my freshman year, but then never did any shows. I did other things within TSM, but never KVRX. I currently live in Austin, Texas, because I am a junior at UT Austin. I've recently been listening to Chloe and Halle, actually. I enjoy their music a lot. They're for sure blacklisted. And it's changed, the music I'm aware of has changed because of KVRX in the sense, or insofar as I live with DJ Gonzo, or Ali, who has introduced me to groups such as, Tenariwen and Don Chicharron, so I'm grateful for that. Exciting, you could say, development is I'm preparing for undergrad thesis next semester. A question that has been occupying my mind for a while, really just, how am I going to just keep myself on track this next semester? This past semester, there was some kind of losing my way. I feel like that's a fairly common phenomenon, so I just gotta, find it within myself to remain focused. And, recent sources of freedom and catharsis actually have been, one example is the John Farnham song, You're the Voice, which is also for sure blacklisted, but I put it on and it does the job. But one of my favorite memories from KVRX was actually, going into the booth with DJ Gonzo as he prepped his show. He actually kind of showed me, the ropes. It had been a while since I had done the training, so yeah. And meanwhile, we would, converse and, engage in, heated arguments. So that's a memory that will stick with me. The best social I went to, there was this one that Ali invited me to graciously. It was, I want to say, 20, yeah, it would have to have been 2019. I don't remember the exact place, but it was a house right in front of Camino Flats on Salado. It was pretty good. Historic moments, I don't know, really, I witnessed these and didn't participate in them, but the transition into, what is it, automated? Yeah, just the new way of doing shows on KVRX. I watched DJ Gonzo as traffic director, really, just work a great deal on ensuring that transition took place as smoothly as it could. Advice for new DJs from me would definitely be to remember what KVRX is for. The purpose of it is to expose the listener base to artists that they wouldn't encounter anywhere else, and to expand their horizons. Whoever's listening, that I think is the job of the KVRX DJ. This is something DJ Gonzo and I have discussed. People can keep up with me at ECHEV as in Victor, ERRIAANDER on Instagram. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Alejandra and I'm DJ Al on the way to 7-Eleven. I am originally from Ciudad Juarez, Mexico, moved to Amarillo when I was younger, and my parents have just resided since there, and I went to high school there. And I was attracted to UT because it's a lot different than Amarillo. It's an entirely different scene, culturally, especially. People listen to country. I guess nothing against country, but it's definitely my least favorite genre. But definitely don't listen to, for example, Steve Lacy. I don't think many people here know who that is. I have been listening precisely to Steve Lacy, his new released music, the Lo-Fi album, and I've always kind of been into that music since I was in high school. I listened to a lot of indie and I guess kind of like electronic a bit when I was in high school, but then as I came to UT, started learning more about the culture and just, being exposed to different people, different ideas, and just different music, I started listening more into R&B and I don't know, probably more like soul, neo soul music, a lot of funk. So that's kind of what I listen to right now a lot. And something exciting that's happening in my world at the moment is, I don't know, I'm trying to just kind of figure out what I should do next, which my next project should be. I recently changed career paths a bit. I used to want to be a lawyer, and I was really set on the pre-law track, but it took me a bit to realize that wasn't exactly what I wanted to do, and I found it interesting and I really enjoyed it. Actually, I don't want to sit in an office for 60 hours reading over cases and briefs and all this other stuff that just didn't feel like it was the life that I was meant to live. A question that has been occupying my mind, dang, that would probably be what am I gonna do? What am I heading towards? What's the ultimate goal here? How can I insert creativity into my everyday life and make a career out of it? Because I know where I come from in particular, and especially in my community, the Latinx community in Amarillo and just my own family, we have a lot of people who, for those of us that make it past high school into a higher education, it's you're set on breaking this generational poverty, these cycles of generational poverty and trauma, and just set on getting out of that. It's kind of like community and family over what your individual needs are, and that's fine, because I do that too, and I totally 100% want to do that as well. But I know that there are ways to do that creatively and insert things like music and radio and just all these other things into my life as well that will sustain me and my family and get me out of those cycles as well. And just, there just wasn't a lot of people like that growing up that weren't white, And so it was very difficult for me to see myself in any type of path that was creative or, non-lawyer doctor, basically. I think I get the same feelings of freedom and catharsis from just knowing, listening to our pre-recorded show. So me and DJ Rusty always, of course, hop on at 10, and she's always in charge of changing the playlist and make sure that our music is on track with the music that's playing. But we get such excitement out of just listening to it together. We FaceTime, etc. We talk, we tell all our friends, and a few of them join in, our family joins in. It's just so exciting to know that even if it doesn't take a long time and all we're kind of just doing is putting a little bit of commentary with music, it's really exciting to just know that, yeah, you did this, especially during the pandemic when it felt like I couldn't finish anything at all. It's assignments and stuff. It's really good. It's a great feeling to just know that you finish something and you put it out there, and you're putting yourself out there as well, and you feel proud of it, and it's happy and it's fun and it's exciting. Oh my gosh. So I think for our first show, it was on the Discord because we just joined this semester and pandemic, so we haven't had a chance to actually be in the booth. We had to record everything from of course pre-recorded, but it's always when Rhea, or I guess that's our some of my favorite memories, they always include Rhea because she's so great, she's amazing, love her. And for our first show, she was everybody should tune in right now, there's some bops playing on here, and she's just always supportive and great, and it's so cute because obviously we're shy. Me and DJ Rusty are kind of shy when it comes to this because we don't, with the pandemic, we're not able to really meet people in person and get to know who we're in a Discord with, in the channel with and stuff, and who we're playing after and before, and who those people are behind it. But Rhea was someone that we had already known from different organizations and stuff, and so she's just always been so supportive and great, and it's just kind of the vibe that we gotten from being with KVRX. I love it. I'd like to say that some historic moment is me and DJ Rusty starting on the way to 7-Eleven. It's a great vibe. I mean, I mostly say because Austin is a large indie music scene and it's a lot of white artists, and that's kind of what a lot of people listen to there. Our show is really focused on uplifting BIPOC, Black, Indigenous, people of color artists, and just putting music out there that we don't think is probably the norm in Austin culture. So that's kind of why I'd consider us a historic moment. Some advice for new DJs. The hardest part is just getting started, honestly. It took us forever to... It was joining KVRX was kind of something that was on our mind for a while, and it took us forever to actually join it and then make the demo and then submit it, and then just... Oh my gosh, a complete mess. It took us so long, especially with the pandemic, and honestly, once you start it, that's the hardest part. Everything else after is just so easy, and it's just motivating yourself and putting yourself out there, especially after you create this show and have to tell everybody that hey, I hope you think my music is great, even though you might think it's just pretty music, and I hope you don't mind my commentary, me pretending to be some radio personality. Where can people keep up with me? You can find me and DJ Rusty on Twitter and Instagram as well. I'm sure she's giving you her socials, but my social media handles are at Alezun, so that's ALEZUNN, and that's for everything. Twitter, Instagram, I think that's it. I don't really use Facebook, so I don't see why anybody would want to have it. And then I also don't really use Snapchat either, so yeah, just Twitter and Instagram at Alezun, and that's kind of where we post most of our stuff as well. So hit us up, if you want to follow me, you can follow me. I'm pretty funny. I'm also just really involved in a bunch of different things. I really enjoyed this. Thank you so much.
Hey, this is Aidan Wilhite, junior at UT and a fellow KVRXer. For the question, where do you live now and what brought you there? I live in Austin. Above all else, I'd say financial security and simplicity brought me here. That and lots of roads. What music are you listening to? Has that changed since you left KVRX? Right now, I listen to lots of Duncan Fellows. Shout out to Wes Sims, KVRX's unofficial Jefe. I'm also really enjoying Eeyore. I know I'm late, but it's a great story. Haley Hendricks, Outkast, Wicked Game by Chris Isaac is probably what about 60% of my brain is preoccupied with. My grandma got me a hers cap. May they rest on my crown for all eternity. And I'd say my music taste has definitely changed. We all think, we're bohemians, or at least I did, listening to like the Black Keys, Growlers, the Strokes. I told my grandparents when I was about 16 that I started getting into 70s music, but really it was just Same Motel and I didn't know any better. I'd like to think I've come a long way. Anything exciting happening in my world? I'd say it's not really earth-shattering, but I learned to ride a longboard. I've been cooking tikka masala. I've really enjoyed writing and reading recently. I spent a few hours learning how to moonwalk the past few days. Then I had to leave, and I think my moonwalking skills left with it. What's a question that's been occupying your mind for a while? I'd say, should I work to become a specific person, or should I be myself and see where that takes me? I have a lot of material and professional goals that I've always considered important, but recently I'm starting to realize there are other ways to feel self-fulfilled. Since I'm not in the booth, where do I go for catharsis? I didn't have a show this semester, so I've had a bit of a hole in my creative output. Recently, for creative catharsis, I'd say my gift shopping for Christmas has been really fun. I thought about getting my dad one of those money shooters, but if I gave him that, I wasn't sure what he was going to do with his nice new wallet he got last year, so I decided against it. My favorite memory from KVRX is one time I told my friend that I was going to interview Dirk Nowitzki on my show and that he should come join me. And I was chilling on one of the couches outside the booth when my friend came up the stairs, saw me alone, and said, "Where's Dirk?" I didn't really mean to trick him. I just thought he would have known that Dirk probably wasn't going to be able to make it. But what I did was compile a bunch of Dirk's interviews, social media promotion videos, and just wacky YouTube stuff into a file in GarageBand. And I just pretended to interview him. Like I would play the file, and I would ask the question, and then you could hear me press the space bar and start Dirk's talking. And yeah, we pretended to dap Dirk up, and we pretended that he laughed at our jokes. He hit his head on the way out, and my friend was very upset at the circumstances. The best social I went to was at Franco's. I have no idea his relationship to KVRX, but I think it's on, I'm not going to say where his house is. It was the fall of 2019. Little do we know, it was just before the fall of civilization as we know it. It was Halloween, and Alex, our website programmer, had this huge loaf of bread, and somehow I ended up with it, and I felt like Jesus splitting the bread and the fish. I kept giving it out, and the bread never seemed to diminish, and it was great, and I really liked that bread. What are some historic moments? Well, I find it interesting that during Paul Revere's famous ride, there was actually a second rider, William Dawes, but no one remembers him. Not even the people he woke up in the middle of the night to warn them of a British invasion. Dawes was kind of a nobody, unfortunately, and didn't possess a great amount of social skills like Paul did. Paul Revere set up the first streetlights in Boston. He was the clerk of the Boston Market, and he was the foreman of the jury on the Boston Massacre. So yeah, I just think it's interesting that there was a second guy out there, and we know nothing about him. Is that what you meant by historic moment? I'd say my advice for new DJs is to challenge yourself to do something creative. You don't even have to make anything. Just organize your playlist in a fun way or have a cool sign off. Just bring as much of yourself to your show as you can. I think that's really important. And if you want to keep up with me, my Instagram is aidan.wilhite with 2 A's in Aidan. I'm not one of those weird Aidan with an E people. I don't know any of those people, and I'd like to keep it that way. They probably have lice. Yeah, they probably have lots of lice, and they don't put milk in their cereal. But that's it for me, Aidan Wilhite, KVRX 91.7. I miss my Succulent Fever, baby, my show Succulent Fever, but I know that it'll come back one day and it'll be stronger than ever. So yeah, thanks, Reno.
Hey guys, I'm DJ Wes Sims, the host of Green Onions on KVRX, which most semesters airs Mondays at 8 p.m. I'm from Denton, Texas. I came to UT to study radio, television, and film. I thought I was going to go to A&M to study engineering like my brother, but sort of close to the deadline, I decided that I wouldn't be as happy unless I decided to do a major where I could be more creative. So I decided to come to UT and study RTF, and luckily some of my best friends from high school came here too. What music have I been listening to? Has that changed since I joined KVRX? Yes. Lately I've been listening to a lot of Twin Peaks, which has become my favorite band over the past year. Duncan Fellows, their new album is really good, called The Sadlands. The new Adrian Linker album, and a lot of Big Thief. I just recently got really into Big Thief. And Blake Mills' self-titled album has been really big recently. Some Alex G, which I am also recently gotten into. I think the song that I've had most on repeat lately is probably Hope from his latest album, which is really great. My taste has definitely changed since joining KVRX, and for the better. I definitely liked indie rock in high school, but now it's kind of become like my favorite genre. And in high school it was a lot more of like classic rock and rap, which I still love, but have like found a love of discovering smaller indie bands because of KVRX. Things that are exciting that are happening to me right now. I recently got asked to host a podcast by some old coworkers while I was interning at Margin Walker for this local reporting project that they started called Keep Austin. And I'm doing basically what I already do for KVRX, where I'm interviewing a lot of local artists, and I'm really excited to get to have an opportunity to do this and get paid to do it. And so if you're interested, you can keep an eye out for the first episode with Brother Sports coming soon. I'm also starting a band with another KVRX DJ, DJ Fish, and a new friend of mine that I met through DJ Fish named Nico. I always wanted to start a band, and I'm really excited about what we've done so far. So the name is pending, but keep an eye out if you're interested. What's a question that's been occupying my mind for a while? I guess basically what's been occupying everyone's mind in like basically what live shows will look like when this is over, and what the scene will look like, and even like what hanging out with your friends will look like. About the possibilities for the future. Since I'm no longer in the booth, what do I get the same feelings of freedom and catharsis? I think just listening to music and playing music. I've found myself just like sitting at my desk watching these live videos of my favorite artists, just like tearing up because of like the sheer beauty of the songs and just certain moments in those songs. Blake Mills does that to me just by the way he plays the guitar. There's just so many videos I can think of where he's playing and like he does a certain riff or something and it just makes me tear up. Or like Adrian Linker's Tiny Desk video is really great. Twin Peaks live on New Year's Eve in 2017, or was it 2016? I don't know. Either way, no, 2017. And anyways, just watching videos like that or playing music, just sitting on my roof, strumming the guitar in the morning and having coffee. Those are probably the more freeing and cathartic moments I have been able to experience since not being in the booth anymore. A few of my favorite memories, or I guess one of my favorite memories from KVRX, because there's too many to choose from, is getting to interview Nardwuar over the phone my freshman year, which was so awesome and something I always remember. And I hope to reconnect with him someday. But that's on YouTube if you're interested in finding that. Best social I ever went to, whose house was it at? There have been, all the socials are really great, but my favorite one is probably at this guy Franco's house on Halloween in 2019. Me and all my roommates didn't have costumes, so and it was really cold, so we just threw some bathrobes on over our clothes, and we called that our costume. We didn't even say we were ghosts, which we probably could have gotten away with, but that was a great party, very fun. A few historic moments, I'll just rattle off a few. Interviewing Nardwuar I feel like was pretty legendary, pretty historic KVRX moment. I also got to interview the manager of Houndmouth, which is one of my favorite bands, and he also manages the now Grammy-nominated Jack Harlow. And he came on my show in the booth back in October of last year. 100 Gex canceling their in-studios, pretty historic I would say, but also a huge bummer to the Gex fans. And of course KVRX Fest in 2019, which will always stick with me for sure. Do I have an advice for new DJs? Yeah, new DJs. just show up and have fun. You kind of have to mingle and show that you really care if you want to be like super involved in KVRX, but we try to be, we try to make it easy for people to join and be welcoming. I know it can be kind of scary, but that's how you'll make some of your best friends in college, like I have, and you'll get to do some really cool stuff at the station. Just channel your creativity and just think about ways that you can push the boundaries of radio and find what is fun for you. If you want to keep up with me, you can find me at WesSims27 on Instagram. You can find my interviews with artists on mixcloud.com/WesSims. Or you can tune into my radio show, Green Onions, Mondays at 8 p.m. when the schedule comes back. Thanks, Reno, for having me on your show. I'm going to miss you, and you're going to kill it out there. We'll definitely miss having Reno's Regions on the schedule. Thanks, guys.
Hello, I'm Eric Jenkins, aka DJ Don't Panic. I'm from Austin, Texas. And what brought me to UT? Basically, it was the best school I got into for my degree, so I chose it. And it was also the best location. It was basically my number one choice, and I got really lucky because I didn't get into like my second and my third, so I didn't want to take like my fourth. So I was like, oh, I guess I'll go with my first one. What music have I been listening to recently? I've been listening to a lot of Drain Gang, some Young Lean, Playboy Cardi, also a lot of like drum and bass comps from like the 90s that I just find on YouTube. They're pretty fun. My taste in music has changed a good amount from when I joined KVRX. I was more into a lot of like guitar-driven music, like post-punk and like just some of the more interesting stuff. But as I joined KVRX, I got more into like electronic music and like electronic dance music and like more of the weirder side of that. I just found it really fun and interesting. Probably the most exciting thing to happen in my world recently is that just the semester's over. So I can finally focus on things like I kind of want to do that I didn't have time to do because I was busy with work and classes. So I have some screen printing projects in the plans. I have some music I've been working on, and just being able to like read and just take time to relax. What's a question that's been on my mind recently? I would say, why was the first leak of Kid Cudi by Playboy Cardi just so good? Just like, it's ridiculously good. It's like kind of perfect. Since I'm no longer in the booth, where do you get the same feeling of freedom? I'd say I get the same feeling of freedom when I go on my bike ride. Basically go on one almost every other day, depending, the weather and all that. But then I just put on a playlist, just go bike for like an hour, 2 hours, and then, yeah, it's just a nice way to like zone out and just like, just kind of just like take it all in. Favorite memories or stories from KVRX? I feel like I don't have like a very specific like memory or like that one like story. I would say just most of the time I just enjoyed just hanging around the station because I basically like lived there because I hated my dorm room. So I would just like stay at the station just constantly. So basically just all the time I spent at the station, but especially like the late nights where I would just end up studying with someone till like, 2 or 3 a.m. and just all the weird things that happen then. It's just like, just random things happening with the building, random other clubs having their meetings, and just random stuff like that. Best social I ever went to, it was the one at the end of my freshman year, so I guess spring 2019. It was at Evan Stack's house. I think Colton Morris, or I think the Morris brothers lived there as well. It was just like the best party, and I knew a ton of people. I also brought like a disposable camera too, so I took a bunch of pictures of that night, and I still have them. And it was kind of a little bit melancholy as well because I met a bunch of the seniors who were about to graduate, so I wouldn't see them as often, but I still keep in contact with some of them, and we're still friends and stuff till today. What are some historic moments? Probably a historic moment, seeing KVRX Fest get actually put on and become a real thing. It is pretty crazy to actually see all the work that went into it and see it be finished. Advice for new DJs: just put yourself out there and just try to talk and meet all the people you can, because you never know what you'll have in common. And I've met some of my best friends through KVRX, so I think it's worth it to put time and effort into meeting people. Where can people keep up with me? I basically only have one social media. I have a Twitter. It's at don'tpanic3k. So if you want to follow me there, you can do that. And yeah, thank you.
Hi, my name is Clayton Ferris, also known as DJ Swinafel, and I've done 2 semesters of a freeform show called Peanut Butter and Jams, about half a semester of a legacy CP show called One Perfect Song during the unfortunate spring of 2020, and this past semester I did a disco show called 4 on the Floor. I am from the Houston area and was born and raised here, and Austin is the first place I've ever lived in that was not the areas surrounding Houston. As high school was ending, I had absolutely no idea what I wanted to do with my life, but I figured a great school like UT Austin would have me covered once I did figure that out. And I also love the city of Austin, so that is how I ended up at UT. My music palette has truly expanded in ways that I never thought possible since joining KVRX, and it has really enriched my life so much. I now listen to all kinds of popular music, all kinds of obscure music, much more than prior to KVRX. And my friends here have really taught me to appreciate just about any aspect of music that you can think of. And I'm so thankful for that. Something exciting happening right now is I am currently working on scoring and recording a soundtrack for one of my friend's feature-length films that is a Western. So it's really cool to be collaborating on a project like this with him. Question that has been occupying my mind for a long time is who would win in a fight, chicken or waffles? Since I'm no longer in the booth at the radio station, I do miss the feeling of broadcasting music and my voice live on air, because it really was what I would look forward to every week. But fortunately, producing my shows at home has filled some of that void, especially when I get to listen to my shows in my living room with my roommate, DJ Roly Poly. One of my favorite memories from my time at KVRX was watching the band Hot Mom perform on Local Live and getting to mosh in front of the camera. The best social I went to definitely had to be the post KVRX Fest party at the Evans Stack and Morris Brothers household. KVRX Fest had just ended the day before, which was a total blast. Plus, the semester was coming to an end. And because of that, everyone's spirits were really high, and the night ended with just about the best karaoke lineup I've ever seen, and it was a great time and a great way to end the semester. A historic moment that I'm going to throw out there was when I brought up the idea of doing a Grateful Dead deep listening, and KVRX alum Ben Kelder and Maddie actually made it happen on April 20th of 2019. And I'm calling it a historic moment because I don't think the Grateful Dead get enough love at KVRX. And as a Deadhead, I was really happy that we got to expose some people to their wonderful music. A word of advice I can give to new DJs is I would really recommend looking at other DJs' playlists on the KVRX website if you didn't get a chance to tune in to their shows. I did this if I ever needed new music to play on my show, or if I just wanted some new music to listen to for myself. And it really is a great way to discover new music if you didn't get a chance to tune into whatever show you're looking at. And I guess the better word of advice I should give is please tune into your friends' shows, because I guarantee you'll like them and you'll probably find something you've never heard before. Lastly, if anyone, and I mean anyone at all, even if we've never talked to each other, wants to reach out to me, please do so. My Instagram is at clay.fairies, and if I don't see your message there, send me a message on Facebook, Clayton Fairies. I'm a guitar player, always looking to jam and play music with people, and I love making new friends. So if you're a new DJ or even a veteran DJ that I haven't connected with yet, please feel free to reach out to me. And to Reno, thank you so much for having me on your last show.
All right, hello. I'm recording this for Reno's final show. I'm Skylar. My DJ name is DJ Skeeps, and I've done about 3 shows now. So my first one was called Blue Skies, second one was What's in the Bag, and then I had a goth rock show called All My Hexes Live in Texas, and I also had an interview show called Flight of the Bumblebees, where I sat around and talked with new DJs. So I'm from Georgetown, Texas. It's only about 45 minutes from Austin. I went to UT partially because when I was a freshman, I was dead set on double majoring English and studio art. So I knew that I wanted to live in a city with a really good art scene and a lot of just stuff going on. So part of why I ended up at UT was actually because of the city of Austin. So there's that, which is, I think, is pretty cool because, being in KVRX, I've been so much more, meshed in with the city just through going to concerts and, hosting shows and stuff than I ever would have been otherwise. So even though I kind of went to UT for the art scene, it's cool that I never really would have, unlocked it in the same way that I do now if I wasn't in KVRX. I have been absolutely smashing Phoebe Bridgers' The Punisher. I'm sure this is going to be the same answer for a lot of DJs, but, I gotta say, one of the other DJs, her name is Rhea, just talks about the way that Phoebe Bridgers writes a song, and it's really great. Her songs are so, specific, and I love listening to the lyrics, because I've been listening to that and trying to figure out, how do we write like that? How do you write a song that's weirdly specific, but also, pretty universal? Has my music changed since I joined KVRX? Yeah. When I first started doing KVRX, I was listening to a lot of rap, and I still do, but, less so now. I've definitely started branching out as far as genres go. It's gotten a lot more eclectic. I used to have a pretty, cohesive sense of music. I was like, yeah, I listen to rock and rap, and now it's I don't know, man. I like music, and that's it. So it's definitely gotten a lot more eclectic, which is really cool, but makes it really hard to make a playlist. Starting in 3 days, I'm going to be working with a defense attorney in Georgetown. So I'll be looking at evidence and stuff. So that's pretty exciting. That's maybe the newest thing. Also, I did get a new book. I finally got The Watchmen, so I'm going to read that. Really excited about it. Well, I gotta say, over this past semester, I've been drawing a lot more and listening to a lot more music than I did. So I've been thinking a lot about, how we make things, and then, honestly, I've been listening to Phoebe Bridgers, and I've been listening to the Mountain Ghosts, so I'm thinking about how to write a song like that. There's the Mountain Ghosts do a podcast, and they were talking about, sometimes the best songs need to be simple. So I've been kind of trying to get at, what the core of things we can make is. If I'm being honest, I can't get the exact same feeling of freedom and catharsis, there's nothing like sitting in the booth and just being completely focused on the music you're playing. I've had a lot of shows that are, late at night, and so that's, a hell of a way to unwind. You just sit back, there's no one else around, totally focused on the music. And there's really nothing like that. Even driving around, because I like to listen to music and drive, but still, you're focused on music and driving. So it hasn't really been the same. The being in the booth and just looking around, seeing all the stuff that other DJs have left behind. I love to look at the stickers and the notes that people leave. Can't do that anymore. I'm looking forward to the day that we can. But I've been kind of trying to get at the same thing by drawing a lot. So I would sit in my apartment, like, listen to music and draw. And then sometimes I would either get so wrapped up in a drawing that I would kind of, like, lose focus on the music, or, like, vice versa. Like, there's been times where I was listening to, like, new releases that I've had to, like, put down whatever I was doing and just, like, stare at a wall and just completely get into the song. So I guess just sort of at home, you know? The feeling of catharsis, I guess I've kind of had to do it by, like, making things or just otherwise trying to get the same focus on the music that you can. But I think something about the feeling of being in a booth is that you're playing stuff and you know that even if you're not aware of it, you're playing it out, you know, into the world. So you're kind of sharing it with people in a way. Like, I don't always know when people are listening to my show. I have no idea if anybody did. But sometimes, like when I had my goth rock show, people would call in. And I thought that was so cool because it's like, yeah, I make my shows because I think they're cool and I like to listen to them. But you're sharing it without really any pressure to, like, I don't know, interact. Like, sometimes when you send your friend a playlist, you're like, oh my gosh, did they like it? You know, with playing a show, I feel like it's more, this is what I like, this is what I enjoy, take it or leave it. Like, thank you for sharing with me, but a bit more personal than that. Alright, favorite memories and or stories from KVRX. I don't even know what to say for this one. There's so many of them. I'm thinking of all the times that Rainer brought Stark into the station. That was great. I'm thinking of one time, oh man, I forget who it was, but Jane was, like, yelling across the station at somebody about Weezer, which is, like, totally on brand for Jane, but that was one of, like, my first times in the station, and I was like, whoa, because it was, like, a very respectful argument that was taking place at, like, maybe 70% volume. So I was like, I learned a lot about Weezer that day in, like, the weirdest possible way that I could have. So honestly, it's just the little things like that, you know? I mean, I can say that I've been to shows that were, like, fantastic and, like, life-changing, which is absolutely true. Like, I got to go backstage and record a sweeper one time for Sweet Spirit, and I was like, wow! But it's also really funny just to hear the weird things people say. Like, one time I was walking around UT campus at, like, 1 in the morning, and I just ran into Honorog, like, walking around with, like, giant headphones, and I was like, huh, cool. It's just the little things like that. Man, there are so many good socials. I miss the KVRX parties more than life itself, even though I will stand by the fact that we don't make punch strong enough. But, the best social I went to, I think this was the one that was at the Morris household. It was the one where you're supposed to dress up like your DJ name, I think, but I could be wrong. I just remember that, like, this was the first time I met Grant Hardaway, and, like, the night ends, right? And it always ends up going into, like, karaoke somehow. And Grant Hardaway was just, like, belting to Teenager by My Chemical Romance, and everybody was getting so into it, and I was like, yes! MCR! And that was a great moment for me. That was a great moment. I also loved the Halloween party. That was, like, during the water crisis, when nobody had any, like, potable water out of their taps, so everybody got, like, real messed up real fast, and I had a show that night, so I was, like, stone cold sober, because I had to leave and get back to the station by 2. So I was sober and just, like, watching everything unfold, and I was like, wow. I felt a bit like a scientist. It was great. I think this ties in, what are some historic moments? I would consider those pretty historic. I don't know, I think historic moments, I've been on staff for, I think, the past year now. I've been the volunteer director. So I think for me, I would consider, like, people starting up like Eli started up the mentor program. I would consider that pretty historic. I hope that sticks around. But just, like, Lydia and all the work that she did with Local Live, I would consider that pretty historic as well. Just, honestly, all that. The fact that we have, like, a whole new, like, production, post-production, audio department, I would consider that historic. I hope it sticks around. So for me, like, being the volunteer director and just watching other people do these, like, incredible, like, and really long-lasting things, I was like, wow, this is cool. And then listening to all of them talk about it during meetings and stuff, and just hearing about, like, the depth of thought that went into every decision we make at KVRX was nuts. I was like, wow. I was, like, 19, and I was like, oh, world changers. advice for new DJs, please talk to people. Talk to people. I made most of my friends on KVRX by just, like, hanging around the station. Like, most of the best things that I've kind of gotten mixed up into KVRX were really, really spontaneous, you know? Like, there'll be people who come into the station, they're like, hey, I'm gonna go do this thing, who wants to come with me? And, like, when moments like that happen, roll with it. Because if you see someone once, then they're a familiar face, and so then if you see someone at a concert, go hang out with them. Like, hang out with them after, bring people along with you. Yes, just be friendly, be open, and, like, don't be scared to be open. It's, you know, I've never once regretted it with KVRX, you know. It's scary in a lot of situations, but I will say that KVRX, in general, has not, like, let me down. Like, I will say openness, spontaneity, and just willingness to be, willingness to do new things, it's rewarded with the people in KVRX, you know? So I guess be that kind of person as well. Also do interesting shows. Where can people keep up with me? I'm on Twitter. I'm on Twitter perhaps too much. My Twitter handle is @Skeepsies, because it is my DJ name. And that's probably your best bet for keeping up with me. I tweet mostly about the radio and my friends when they bully me. Because what else is there to life?